Is wearing Japanese fashion cultural appropriation or appreciation? If you're chronically online like I am, then you might remember back in circa 2021 when a cosplayer ended up making a public apology for using the word kawaii. She was told that kawaii is a slur, and it was a big controversy in J-fashion spaces at the time, even making it into the news. The question of whether or not it's okay for non-Japanese people to wear Japanese street fashion pops up from time to time in broader J-fashion circles. My fiance even asked me when I first explained to him what fairy K is. It may sound silly to a lot of us that are in the community, but honestly, it's a valid question. It's one we're going to answer by the end of this video. Towing the line between cultural appropriation and appreciation can feel like walking on a tightrope, but once you clearly define each of them, it becomes much easier to identify which is which. Cultural appropriation is the unacknowledged, inappropriate, and non-consensual stealing and exploitation of the traditions, customs, or ideas from another culture. Hypothetically, anyone can culturally appropriate, but it's most typically done by people that are the dominant groups in society. Cultural appropriation typically has flavors of exploitation and caricaturization baked into it. Cultural appreciation is the educated, respectful, and consensual implementation and admiration of cultural customs or ideas from another culture. Some cultural practices are closed practices, meaning that engaging in them done by anyone outside of the culture in question is considered appropriation. Some examples of this are protective black hairstyles and smudging with white sage by southwestern Native Americans. Oftentimes, whether or not a cultural practice is considered closed is decided by majority consensus of the people that are a part of that culture. However, it can be more nuanced than that depending on historical tradition and context. Sometimes a concept or product will arise from a specific culture that is encouraged to be a cultural export by the people that created it. This means the sharing and spread of the concept is encouraged and cultural appreciation is welcomed and even invited. Some examples of this are the goth subculture, which came out of the UK, and, you guessed it, many of the Japanese street fashion subcultures. Now that we've covered the differences between cultural appreciation and appropriation, let's dive in a little bit deeper on J-fashion. To truly appreciate this cultural export, we need to take a trip back in time. Alternative Japanese street fashion first took root in the 60s and 70s, same way most good subcultures do. Progressive, often young people joined together in post-war solidarity in opposition to their conservative predecessors. They used the necessity, clothing, one often used as a tool of conformity, as an artistic brush to paint themselves into visual representations of their counterculture beliefs and values. The majority of the most famous J-fashions came out of Harajuku and Shibuya, which are both located in Tokyo. Both areas became known as iconic fashion destinations, attracting national and international tourists alike. Both districts have housed many alternative Japanese fashion stores and magazines, and these stores and magazines have been very welcoming and even worked alongside Westerners. The zenith of creation of new J-fashions was in the 90s and early 2000s, with many of them being created with the intent goal of standing out and rejecting societal beauty standards. Due to several factors, from economic hardship to becoming too mainstream to societal changes in fashion, Harajuku and Shibuya are no longer considered to be alternative fashion hotspots. One of the cultural movements that laid the foundation for many beloved Japanese fashions, from Decora to Lolita to Fairy K, is the kawaii movement. Kawaii roughly translates to cute, but it also has undertones of powerlessness or delicateness. The concept of kawaii has roots going back many centuries. However, post-World War II, during rapid urbanization, is when kawaii culture as we know it today really started to snowball. It was during this time that Japan started to see massive success in kawaii cultural exports, from Hello Kitty to Tamagotchi to many of the J-fashions that were born in Harajuku. Creators and pioneers of these kawaii icons tend to champion and invite the idea of these concepts being shared globally. Sebastian Masuda, aka the King of Kawaii and 6% Doki Doki's owner, has made it his life's mission to redefine kawaii as a global movement of self-expression. Shoichi Aoki, founder of Fruits magazine, said, "It's actually quite liberating and free to pick and choose styles from history and combine them to create unique looks that eventually evolve into the Japanese streetwear we see today." Tabuchi, widely regarded as the accidental creator of Fairy K, said she doesn't see any difference between the vision of Japanese and overseas kawaii/spank fans. These are just a few examples of people that are heavily involved in J-fashion spaces that are from Japan that support worldwide spread of J-fashion. However, there are many, many other examples. Of course, Japanese people are not a monolith, and there are likely going to be some Japanese people that disagree and don't want non-Japanese people to wear J-fashion or participate in kawaii culture. I think the best thing we can do is take the advice of the people that are pioneers and greatly involved in the creation and continuation of J-fashion, and be mindful of whether we are invited to participate in that specific J-fashion, and be as respectful and educated as possible towards our interest in J-fashion and Japanese culture. Now that we have all that info under our belt, let's get back to answering our question. Is wearing J-fashion cultural appropriation? Unfortunately, I don't think it's a simple yes or no answer, and this is my personal opinion as a non-Japanese person, so take my opinion with a pinch of salt. But I do think it is possible to culturally appropriate while wearing J-fashion. If you're using it to Asian fish, enforce stereotypes, act as a caricature, fetishize Asian people, infantilize Asian people, infantilize or over-sexualize yourself, take credit for J-fashions by yourself, and remove the Japanese origins and credit, call yourself Japanese when you're not? Yes, that's a natural thing to happen. Or if you are a racist person that is for some reason wearing a Japanese cultural export. That being said, if you are educated on the J-fashion you are wearing, respectful about your interaction with Japanese culture, and listen to Japanese voices regarding J-fashion instead of speaking over them, the general consensus is that you are fine, you are good, you are taking part in and entering into a space that you are welcome and invited into. Drop it down below if you have any questions about this topic or any J-fashion questions. What do you think?